Hello everyone, today we are continuing our factoring unit by going over some application problems. So I know these can be a little intimidating when you're looking at it, but I promise it's not too bad. Most of these we're just going to be factoring them. So the first type of example that you may see on homework or on a test is the area of a quadrilateral is 25y squared minus 16. Find the length of each side. So I know the area is this, and I also know the area is equal to length times width. I want to find the length of each side. So I want to find what my length is and what my width is. So really, this is just telling me to factor it. So when I factor it, I'm breaking up that area into the factors of it. And so that's going to find the length of each side. So looking at this, I'm going to factor 25y squared minus 16, but I notice I'm missing a term. I'm missing my y term. And so we learned yesterday is I can add that back in by just putting a plus 0y there. And then now I'm going to go through and factor like normal. So I'm going to take 25 times negative 16. And I get negative 400. And so I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 400 but then add to equal 0. And so if you recall from at the end of my last video, an easy way to do this when you're looking for two numbers that are going to add to 0. I know they have to be the same, just one positive, the other negative. If you use your calculator, just take the square root of 400, and that's going to equal 20. So this is going to be negative 20 and positive 20. Those add to 0, and they also multiply to 400. So now instead of 0y, I'm going to split that into negative 20y plus 20y, which is the same thing as 0y because those add to equal 0. Now I'm going to factor by grouping. So the GCF of my first pair of 25 and 20, that's going to be 5, and then y squared and y, that's y, so this is going to be 5y. GCF of 20 and 16 is going to be 4. So my GCF of 5y goes out in front. 25 divided by 5, I get y squared divided by y, I get y, minus, and this will be 4. My GCF of 4 goes out in front. 20y divided by 4, I get 5y. Negative 16 divided by 4, I get negative 4. And so my answer here is that my length and my width is 5y plus 4, and then my width is 5y minus 4. Okay, number 2 is probably the trickiest problem for these application problems. This is going to be a little bit more of a lengthy problem. So it says a box in the shape of a rectangular prism has a volume of 72 cubic feet. The box has a length of 3 feet, a width of x minus 1 feet, and a height of x plus 9 feet. Find the value of x. And they tell us that volume is equal to length times width times height. So I know my volume is 72. It says my length is 3 times my width, x minus 1, times my height, x plus 9. I know that all equals my volume, which is 72. So now I need to kind of work through this to actually solve for x. What I recommend doing, so we have smaller numbers, I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 3 first. And 72 divided by 3, I get 24. It's tempting to go ahead and set both of these equal to 0 and solve, but my problem is I don't have 0 on this right-hand side. I have 24. So I need to first move this 24 to the left-hand side. But in order for that to be helpful, I need to actually multiply out these binomials. So I'm going to do x times x, get x squared. X times 9, I get 9x. negative 1 times x, and I get negative x. Negative 1 times 9, I get negative 9. Combine my like terms, and I have x squared plus 8x minus 9 is equal to 24. And now from here, I want to go ahead and subtract the 24 from both sides. And so I have x squared plus 8x minus 33 is equal to 0. Now that I have this set equal to 0, I can go ahead and factor this and then solve it. So to factor, I'm going to do a times c. So I have 1 times negative 33 to get negative 33. And here I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 33, but then add to equal 8. So since they're multiplying to a negative, but then adding to a positive, one has to be negative, the other has to be positive. Since it's adding to a positive number, my smaller number is going to be negative. So I have negative 133, but those don't add to 8. Negative 3 times 11 is negative 33, and I see that negative 3 plus 11 equals 8. So instead of 8x, I'm going to have minus 3x plus 11x. I'm going to split that 8x up. And then from here, I can factor by grouping. My GCF of my first is just x. The GCF of my second is 11. X squared divided by x, I get x. And then minus 3. I get x minus 3 over here as well. And so I have x plus 11 times x minus 3 is equal to 0. Now for my last step, I can go ahead and now set each of these equal to 0. Now I need to think about my answers for a second. If x equals negative 11, that means that, for instance, if I put negative 11 into x minus 1, that my width would be negative 12 feet. And that can't happen. I can't have negative feet of something. So that means my answer can't be x equals negative 11. So it's just going to be x equals 3.